Welcome back to the channel. This is Gillis TV here on Clemhawks, and we got breaking news that, let's just say, Calgary fleeced Florida as Mackenzie Weegar has signed a 6-year contract extension with the Calgary Flames at $6.7 million a year, and got to give it to the Calgary GM. I'm an Oilers fan, true diehard Oilers fan. But you gotta give props to where it's due. But before we get started, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button for more MLB and NHL content. Now let's get back. Give credit where it's due. The Calgary Flames lost their two best players from last season, and of course overall the last 3-4 seasons. Well, Calgary was in a panic. Okay, this was where we lost Gaudreau, he's not coming back, Tkachuk wants out, what are we going to do? And props to their GM by going, hey, Florida, we'll give you Tkachuk, a younger version of younger player that has an upside that can put up 100 plus points a year, for Huberdeau, a draft pick, Mackenzie Weegar, and a prospect. Well, they were on expiring deals, and now they're in Calgary for, well, Weegar's in Calgary for 7 more years because of after this year. And I'm sorry, but Florida, whatever you thought you had in Tkachuk, you got fleeced so hard by this deal that if I'm a Florida Panthers fan, I'm in disbelief. If I'm a Flames fan, I'm jumping out of my chair and can't believe what just happened. And arguably, Tkachuk's not better than Huberdeau at all. They get a stud defenseman in Mackenzie Weegar that he could stop top-end talent players. He played against Tampa. He knows what it's like. And the guy's not bad. He was drafted in 2013. He's 28 years old. So yeah, if you're Calgary, you gave up a 24, 25-year-old player for 228s with potential and just signed with you long-term. That's a steal of a deal. But back to Mackenzie Weegar, who is a stud defenseman. He played for Florida the last 2 seasons, so his point totals are really higher. But he can produce offensively. He can play defensively. This is a huge signing by the Calgary Flames, who ultimately, 3-4 weeks ago, we're in shambles over the fact Gaudreau's leaving, Tkachuk wants out, what are we going to do? And all of a sudden, you look 3 weeks ahead, you signed a guy that scored 120 plus points, I believe it was last season. You locked up a stud defenseman for 6 more years to play with possibly Chris Tanev or, whoever on that Calgary defense. All of a sudden, you're pretty much in the same place you were before the news broke. Gaudreau was leaving and Tkachuk was leaving, or wanted out. This is a huge signing, and Calgary just basically flipped off Florida with this. That's how big of a fleece job this was. And they also have a prospect that is highly talked about, and the pick. I'm sorry, but Matthew Tkachuk is not worth that much. I don't know if you guys saw the videos I did where Carolina offered Martiniquez and some stuff, and St. Louis offered Tarasenko and Scandella. Well, I'm sorry. If you're Florida now, knowing what those other teams offered, you just offered way too much. Huberdeau, that prospect in first, is still too much. Then you throw in a guy like Mackenzie Weegar, who is ultimately your best defenseman besides Aaron Ekblad. I'm sorry, but Calgary fleeced you, Florida, and, if Calgary goes on to do a lot of good things this year, that trade will be why the Calgary GM could be GM of the year. Just that trade. That was a blockbuster trade, don't get me wrong, for one team. Sorry, I got a bit of stuffy nose. That wasn't a blockbuster trade for 2 teams. Yeah, you got Matthew Tkachuk, who's never ever really played with anyone but Monahan, Gaudreau, and Lindholm, and was also on a line with Milan Lucic. Okay, so you think he's going to do the same he did in Calgary, playing with, say, Anthony Duclair and Barkov? No, those two players are totally different players from Gaudreau and Lindholm, who he grew chemistry with. I'm sorry, but this is a great signing by the Calgary Flames. You look at the stats last year, 44 points in 80 games for Weegar, 1 point in 10 playoff games. He was a plus 40 last season. Season before that, he had 36 points in 54 games. Like, that just tells you how good Florida was and how good he is offensively. 81 penalty minutes last year, 45 the year before. He also had power play points. Like, this guy was drafted in 2013. Didn't start playing in the NHL full time till 2017-18. He had 3 stints the year before that. But other than that, this guy has came into the NHL after not playing in the NHL for basically 4 years before getting a spot, and Florida just goes and trades him. Like, it doesn't make sense. And Calgary is officially fleeced the Florida Panthers by signing Mackenzie Weegar to a 6-year contract worth I believe it was $7.5 million a year. That is huge. But I got to get going off to work here. You guys have fun. Stay safe out there. I'll catch you on the next one.